Lonely Monk Productions. I don't know if y'all have heard 7571 by Nat Myers yet, but yo!
That's my Jawn! Hey yo, displace the guilt.
What's good, friends and family, neighbors near and far? Welcome to an all-new episode of the Yo, That's My Jawn podcast. The podcast, website, brand, movement, way of life dedicated to the embrace and championing of your passions. I'm your host, Nate Runkle, a.k.a. John Boyega, a.k.a. John Gotti, a.k.a. Nate 3.0. Back at it again with yet another episode of the podcast. As always, I hope this podcast finds you all in good health and in good spirits. On today's episode, I am joined by singer, songwriter, and multi-instrumentalist E.J. Simpson. We have a fantastic chat about his new album, You Purple Virgin Presents Fabulous Fantasy, and we talk about so much more. That's coming up in a bit. But first, what it do, gang? Okay, yeah, man, we took a tiny break following a nice run of episodes here while Katie and I traveled to New Orleans for a little R&R, and man, what a beautiful city. We took in all the sights. We got to peruse some art and history, and guys, of course, we ate some incredible food. But most importantly, being the birthplace of jazz, we took in some music. And, you know, it just so happened that while we were down there, our pal and our former guest, G Love, was playing at the House of Blues. So we got to watch G and Jimmy Jazz and Chuck Treece lay down them sweet-ass grooves of the most specialist of sauces. And I was mostly excited to see the homie Nat Myers opening the show yet again. I first met Nat when G played Philly back in January, and I was blown away by his blues chops, man. They calls to mind the likes of Robert Johnson and Mississippi John Hurt. Dude has some serious skill finger-picking on the guitar, and man, what a voice on him. He's got an album coming out this summer entitled Yellow Pearl, produced by Dan Auerbach of the Black Keys, and I cannot wait to get my hands on it. Definitely be on the lookout for that. You know, he and I have been chatting, and I hope to get him on the show soon. So, guys, cross them fingers, y'all. But the trip was amazing, and I feel so blessed that I got to experience such a wonderful town with the love of my life. But now, we are back, and it is time to get back to work. You know, I gotta lace my friends and neighbors with a new episode, and that is this. But, you know, before we get into it, let's go down the checklist. Have you signed up for the mailing list yet? If that answer is no, well, why don't you just take a second and go to www.yothat'smyjawn.com and just, sign on up. Or you can do it right here. Wherever you're listening to this, there should be a link in the show notes to sign up for the mailing list. Click it there. And then, of course, follow us on the socials at Yo, That's My Jawn. Dig. Alrighty, quick break. Then we jump into my conversation with E.J. Simpson. But we, as the kids like to say, will be right back. Do you like storytelling? Or do you like me? Well, join me on April 27th at Caveat in New York City on the Lower East Side as I share a true story from my life on the show Risk. Created and hosted by my former guest and my pal Kevin Allison, Risk is the live show and weekly podcast where people tell true stories they never thought they'd dare to share in public. And here's a tip. Tickets are available now for $18 if you purchase them in advance, or, $20 at the door if you wait until the day of. Can't make it to New York but still want to catch the show? Well, the night is being live streamed via Stellar, and those tickets are only $15. Visit www.risk-show/tour for more details. That's www.risk-show/tour. Hope to see you there. My guest today is a Philadelphia-based singer, songwriter, and multi-instrumentalist who has made his name as a member of seminal Philly music acts including The Goats, Maggie Pearson EJ, Baru Review, and Boris Garcia, just to name a few. He is set to perform his 17th annual solo revival of Jesus Christ Superstar at Old Swedes Church on April 21st. And then, on May 5th, he will be releasing his third solo album, You Purple Virgin Presents Fabulous Fantasy, a 10-song collection recorded, mixed, and mastered by Grammy Award winner Phil Nicolo, and recorded and produced by himself and Adrian Harpham. Folks, it is my honor to welcome to the show, E.J. Simpson. Ladies and gentlemen, I am joined today by the great E.J. Simpson. E.J., thank you for joining me on Yo, That's My Jawn.
Yo, thanks for having me, Nate.
So I'm super excited to be able to pick your brain. I've been listening to the new album because I got a little bit of an advanced copy. And, a vinyl. I love it. That looks beautiful. I am definitely going to have to snag a copy of that. But you've been a staple in the area for so long, and I'm just so excited that we're going to get a chance to have this little chat.
Nice.
So tell all these fine folks a little bit about your childhood and all. Where did you grow up?
Nate, how's your turntable working? You do have a turntable, right?
I do have a turntable. Yeah, I have a very fantastic collection too that was left to me by my father. So
nice. Okay. I was born in Pennsylvania, and as a little kid, I was in Kansas and upstate New York.
Oh, yeah?
But then back out in Narberth, since I was about 12.
Okay.
So, and my parents met at Temple University in the choir. So there's music and Philly, all throughout the blood and everything.
Yeah, deep in the roots. So what were they kind of into? What music were they listening to?
Well, my dad was. This is the family piano that I'm now have inherited. So it's kind of trippy to be, living with it. My dad loved jazz and he loved R&B, early doo-wop and that kind of thing. And my mom was into classical and more of folk, the Joni Leonard, Judy kind of set. And that's a pretty wide spread if you think about it. Oh, and my dad was an avid record collector too. So he'd have thousands stuff he collected since he was he bought this stuff new when he was a teen. So he had a great big doo-wop, R&B, and jazz and rock. He had 60s and 70s rock, which we kind of discovered later when we were flipping through Dad's collection.
Yeah. Isn't that the weirdest thing is to dig through and it's like, wait, I never heard you listen to this. You were into super cool shit.
Exactly. We're like, when we kind of discovered the Doors or whatever, he's like, I got all the records downstairs. We're like, you do?
Well, along those lines, and this was something else that I was going to pick your brain about, is in '86 when MTV started re-airing the Monkees, my dad was like, boy, do I have something to show you. And then he pulled out the Monkees vinyls. And I was like, oh, my God, this is the greatest moment of my life.
Well, I heard your Nesmith bit.
Oh, yeah. Oh, fantastic. Because, he's the best. He's the absolute best.
It's so funny that he and Davey didn't get along. So as soon as Davey died, they were the different trio. But now there's one man left.
And he's doing it all himself.
And he's playing nearby in a week.
Yeah, he just on Saturday kicked off that tour. And from what I understand, it's a very emotional one.
Have you ever, this is it, man. I know it's not Mike, but you going to go?
I think I'm going to try. I saw Mike twice solo, once at the Colonial and once at the World Cafe. We were front row for that. And that was...
You mean just Mike and his guitar?
No. His band. But man, what a inspiration to me. You do some Monkees tribute, yeah?
Kind of. Look, I can tie this in because the second I was kind of into Beach Boys, but then I got into Monkees as a kid and the vinyl. And I've been listening, and my girlfriend will play a lot of Monkees if we're driving. She'll be DJ, and we're starting to go into some really deep tracks. And they were heavy and psychedelic, and I'm listening and I'm like, wait a minute, like subconsciously there's an influence. I'm here, I'm like, wait a minute, this bit reminds me of one of my songs, but I haven't like heard it or listened to it since I was a kid. The deep
Absolutely.
trance.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it totally makes sense. Like, they got like I believe I don't know if it's rumor or not, but I believe that they were the first band to use a Moog synthesizer on a track. And like, like it's part of my my plea for them to get the recognition that they deserve, because like they were highly influential to so many people, and I just think they kind of get snubbed for being the quote unquote made up band,
Yeah, they did all pass the audition, but then they were like, wait, we're real musicians. And the guys were like, no, you just passed the audition and we want you to be this cookie cutter TV show. And they're like, no, that's why we passed the audition. Because anyway.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. Any chance I get to talk to monkeys,
I would go down the road. I mean, I know we're talking about stuff, but the whole thing could be a bit about the monkeys.
Well, we might have to bring it back for a part 2 and just geek out on.
Well, we should look up the
deep
dates. We got to look up the Mickey dates there, Nate. I think that's,
Yeah,
last
definitely.
man standing. Come on.
I actually put a request to try to interview him on this show, because because of that Last Man Standing, and like that band meant so much to me. So I really hope it pulls through, but I haven't heard back. So
Fingers crossed here on the video. I did see half the Beatles, so I've seen half the Beatles. So that's pretty cool.
Ringo or George?
I saw 2 nights of Paul back to back, and then I went to see Ringo at Radio City.
That's awesome.
And it was a surprise. It was like, just get on the train, don't look, we're going to a concert. I was like, okay, and it was Ringo. It was great.
Oh my God, it's unbelievable. I couldn't imagine. My head would blow up.
My head blew up.
Yeah, I my only Beatles, I've never seen Paul and I've never seen Ringo, but my only Beatles connection is I've seen Sean Lennon a bunch of times, and I was at Johnny Brenda's one day and he was standing next to me at the bar ordering a tequila, and I was like, well, this is close enough.
Yeah, I saw George's kid. I saw Danny Harrison at the World's Cafe, right where you saw Mike Nesmith.
Oh, that's awesome. He's so good too. Like, and looks so much like his father. It's disturbing.
Well, you could tell that half the people had never heard of his music. They just were there because of his dad. And when he said, thanks, folks, or, this next song is called, you could see people like, because he sounds very much like his padre. What can you say?
Yeah. I at that Johnny Brenda's show with Sean Lennon, it was very there was this very drunk woman behind me, who for like 3 songs was just like, it's so sad what happened to his dad, very loudly, and I was just like, oh my God, this is a small room. I am pretty sure he can hear you.
Oh, that's bad.
Yeah, it's brutal. It's pretty brutal. So, now that I completely got sidetracked, I have ADHD, so this could really go off the rails.
You don't edit this, right? You're just gonna throw it on, right?
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. This is where the magic.
When does it get? Are we on live now, or when do you throw it up?
No, this will go out on Monday.
Oh, good, Monday. So
Monday.
That brings me back to May of 2023, right? No, April of 2023.
April. That's right.
Here we are, April 4th, 2023.
That's right.
Welcome back.
So, when did you start playing music?
As a kid, and I fooled around on the guitar and this piano and saxophone, but it was the bass that I got serious on at about age 12. Or a talent show, one of my brother's talent shows. I was like, "What's that guy playing?" And it turned out to be a bass. And so it was but I was always singing, and I was in a choir. I made a record when I was 12 because I was in a choir that made a record. But then the guitar came along, and this is always the piano, and it kind of grew from there. A mandolin. Now I play several instruments. I have a few within arm's reach, but it's an audio show.
Oh, that is beautiful.
Tell the folks at home what it is, Nate.
Is that a what do we call that? A Leica?
Yeah.
Is that what it is? Right?
Yeah. It's in the Beatles lyric. Let me hear your balalaika ringing out.
Yes.
I got the chords written right here. I got to look down and look at the chords. Balalaika.
Balalaika. I love it. That's beautiful. Is that a new acquirement, or have you had it for quite some
I've
time?
had it a while, and the woman who gave it to me's father actually brought it back on the plane from Russia in the '60s. Is the story that I heard?
Wow.
Maybe I'm gonna have to go grab my bass, Nate, because my whole namesake of my band, my project is called You Purple Virgin, and that's named after my purple 5-string bass that I made. So
That's the hold on, it's gonna come to me. Modulus graphite, right?
yeah.
It's my research.
Modulus, yeah, they're I don't know, have you ever heard of that guitar company before?
I haven't, no.
Some people are, the guitar set might be like, oh wow. This is, it depends on your audience. Oh wow, it's a Modulus graphite. Steinberger basses were made of graphite, but now there's a lot of things made of graphite. Your bicycle frames and your tennis rackets, So yeah, I worked out there in San Francisco way back, and I was able to make this fabulous 5-string purple bass of mine.
It's from if it's what I've seen in pictures, it's absolutely stunning.
I know. It's like I was gonna go grab it. I'm like, wait, this is audio only, so I'll pretend that I have it. There's a picture of it on the the bio and stuff. So yeah.
So you at 12 find the bass and become enthralled. What was it about the bass that kind of grabbed you? Like, what was the draw?
Wow, I don't know. It was like there was a bit of a mystery. I was like, I could see the guitar and the pianos. I was like, what's that guy doing? Kind of the move, the kind of stealth approach of it, I guess. It's an interesting question, but they were like, oh, that's a bass, and then I was able to get one. The Tooth Fairy brought me one again, thanks to the mom and the dad. And but then from there, I got into bass players, but the guitar was happening, and this piano and songwriting was kind of happening. But
what who was kind of your bass guy early on? Like who were you most kind of drawn to?
I was digging the McCartney turn it up kind of stuff. I was listening to some of the uprights on the jazz records from my dad. I remember learning Panic in Detroit was a big, I just sat down and listened to it over and over again. And I bowed to Jawn and Yoko, just like, the boom, boom, no, and it's like, that's loud and bouncy and fun. And then some Grateful Dead got in there, and Jaco Pastorius and Entwistle, and then,
yeah,
then there you go.
It all leads to Jaco, doesn't it? Like
many roads lead to Jaco.
It all leads. So when did you? I know you said you kind of did that choir album at 12, but were you playing in any bands on bass or guitar in middle school, high school? Those.
Oh years? Yeah. I had some pals, and we're all still pals, so we're all still playing. And our first band was called the Vegetables. It was pretty loose. We had a lot of great jam parties in my dad's basement. So I guess I'll name the people that I played with. One of them was Adrian Harpham, who's a drummer extraordinaire who produced this.
Oh, no kidding.
Produced this with me. And you got to get him on your show because he's got quite a storied career. The other guy is named Pierce Ternay, and maybe you remember a trio called Maggie, Pierce, and EJ.
Yes.
The other guy is David Copa, who's playing blues all over the Philadelphia area. So that was one of the first jam ensembles, but I was also jamming with Steve Wolf, who's an incredible drummer with a great career, and Andy Kravitz, who's a producer, drummer extraordinaire. And these are all lifers. Like, we all just met. It wasn't like, oh, we used to play when we were teenagers. We're all still, it's pretty much at the fore and like full-time career path from the first several people that I came up with.
That's amazing. Yeah, I mean, I think there is something to that kind of bond, that if you find the right people when you're starting, like, they will be with you forever. Like the guy who I play with, who plays drums, we learned instruments together. Like he had access to a drum set, so it was like, okay, I guess you're the drummer, and I had access to a guitar, so it was like, I guess I better learn how to play guitar, and we still play. Like we're playing. We got a bunch of gigs lined up for this summer, like little patio shows and stuff like that.
Do you have a band name, or what is it? Are we going to talk about that? Because we could.
Well, we've gone through many band names, but currently the bar that we play at books us as the Trash Can Margaritas.
Nice.
but our main kind of thing back in the day was we were the Swinging Cannons, and then he followed me into another project called the Impact Players, which
Nice.
was kind of my main thing. But no, he's phenomenal. He's better than me. He I don't know if you're familiar with a band called Tribe of Names. They're a prog rock band.
Nice.
They're absolutely incredible. They just released a new album maybe a few months ago or something like that. But he's playing drums with them, and like it just blows my mind that this guy who didn't know how to play his drums, when we were like 13, 14 years old, is now
Tribe of Names.
Yeah,
that's cool. You guys are like the Van Halen brothers, because you're drums and guitar.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. So what when you guys were kind of jamming it out and stuff like that, were you writing originals, or were you guys like doing covers, or a mixture?
All the above, really. And it's funny you mentioned prog, because I feel like there's some prog in this album.
Definitely.
Yeah, we were all songwriters. Adrian the least, but now he's quite a songwriter and producer. Like I said, Pierce, because I was in Maggie Pierce and EJ, and he's still a busy songwriter. Copa was rocking the blues. So yes, that's the short answer, is yes. As well as playing blues, as well as playing a lot of Beatles.
Are there do you have any recordings of that early stuff that still exists?
Absolutely. I got a cassette collection that's like us, learning shit, and just like, and the drum set falls apart and you break a string, and the cassette till your 45 minutes run out, and then your tape runs out.
It's so awesome. I just bought a one of those cassette to USB converters to be able to convert all those old tapes, and I keep threatening people. I just found a recording of myself at 7 interviewing my sister as a newborn. And it's like one of those things where it's like, oh, I guess this podcast thing was always meant to happen.
As a newborn, that sounds like kind of absurdist, hilarious.
Yeah.
You're just there like looking around with its big baby eyes, and you're like, so what do you think of blah, blah, blah?
Yeah, exactly. So what was kind of your first foray into something a little more serious as a band, less kind of palling around in the basement, more playing out?
We would play the talent shows, and I kind of also joined a Grateful Dead band, but I had to travel to another circle of friends out in Havertown. But we played a bunch of crazy big parties. That band was called Walrus Gumboot. Kind of a funny name for a Grateful Dead band, but it was a good time for several years, and in my high school years. I was gigging as a teenager, but another person I met who I'm still in touch with is named John Abella, and he's back in Philly now, and it's great to be reconnected. We never really fell out, but he's right down the street now. So, and he called me one day. He said, "Hey, he had vanished for a year or three, and he's like, I'm living in San Francisco. We had this great chemistry musically." And he said, "What are you doing?" And I said, I think I'm moving to San Francisco. So that might be one of the early things I did. And he and I, with another guy named Chris Thomas, were this heavy blues trio, melodic and swinging, called Johnny's Problem, in the Bay Area in like the 90s. We'll crank some of that stuff up one of these times.
That's awesome. That's so like early 90s or
early 90s. And out there I met East Bay Ray from the Dead Kennedys, and I was doing a lot of gigs and sessions, and there was a whole blues scene on Grant Street, Grant Green, up in North Beach. Ever been to San Francisco, Nate?
No, I haven't.
I was there kind of recently, and it's just such a vibey, incredible place. It's this peninsula, it's this bay, it's this fog, but plus when you move somewhere when you're 19, it's, your mind will be blown, but out there it was great.
Yeah. What brought you back from San Fran?
This is a roadmap, Nate. I love it. Well, I told you Pierce was an early buddy, and one of my visits back to Philly, annual thing, or maybe a couple times a year. Pierce very casually takes me to a session. He had done one, and we did this other one, and it was a weird, like I'd never worked this way before, and it was the demo that led to the Goats. Do we know about the Goats a little bit? We're from Philly, right?
Yeah, we know about the Goats.
We know about the Goats. You mentioned Treese, of course. He was like, so the Goats, and the Goats hits about 1 out of 7 or 8 times you mention it. A lot of people they didn't know the Goats, but 1 out of 10, they're like, holy crap, the Goats. So they have a big impact and a big influence. And we were sharing bills with the Roots. A lot of people know the Roots, but I say, well, no, there was a time when we were both kind of the Philly live hip hop phenomenons.
Yeah, it's kind of like it kind of almost was like the creation of kind of that live hip hop sound. Like it's just so formative, and it boggles my mind that it is kind of like a Philly secret almost, like that people in this area, you can catch the right person who knows and respects. But like outside of the state, it gets harder and harder to kind of bring that attention to it.
Abso-fucking-lutely. Wait, can I say that on the show, Nate?
You most certainly can.
Abso-fucking-lutely. Here's a funny goat story I'll just talk about. My mother was in Anchorage, Alaska, and she was having a good time. And I think it was like campfire or something was happening. She was just kind of partying with people and friends. Oh, you're from Philly. It came up. And somehow the Goats came up. They might have mentioned it. I think they mentioned it because she's like, my son's in that group. And she loved telling the story because they're like, they didn't believe her because they were big fans. And she was like, she's like, go get one of your records. You'll see E.J. Simpson on the back. And in fact, she's thanked on one of them, my mom, Gret. So that was a funny story. But yeah, the Goats still has ripples, really. More so in Europe, maybe. We came this close. Where's my camera? We actually did have a reunion last summer, or it was right before the election between somebody and somebody else. We were actually, most of us did convene in a studio and do some tracking, but it didn't catch wings. But it's not to say that it still couldn't catch fire.
Wow, that's incredible. I would kill somebody to hear that.
Yeah,
right,
it was all 3 rappers. It was myself and the keyboardist, and I guess I need names. Mark Boyce and Mad Sway, Zach and Odie, the 3 rappers in the same fucking room at what was it called? What's the studio over there? It used to be the boys. It used to be Roots place. It's right above.
Above what is? Yeah.
Not good.
God, why is that name slipping me? I can't remember.
But there was some shit was going down, and anyway, it was cool about the Goats. Yeah.
Yeah. It's awesome. So is that where you first met Joe and Phil?
Absolutely, the Butcher Brothers.
Yeah. Because spoiler alert, to jump ahead, Phil produced the new album. Yeah. And a few other things for you, right? As well.
Yeah. Yeah. So like I mentioned, Pierce was an old friend, and we went down Goat Alley together, Goat experiences together. And we met Joe Nicolo, and Pierce was kind of keen on Phil Nicolo's output. He was like, I want to meet Joe's brother. Joe was great. Joe the Butcher was great. He did the Goat stuff, and it was kind of new for most of us. The studio at that level, maybe some of us. But Phil had this rock thing, and one of Pierce's favorite records was Urge Overkill, Saturation, and we finally met him, and he brought in his Beatle cassette collection, and he let us dub all this rare shit, all this stuff that was basically on the anthologies. He had somehow obtained in the 90s on cassette. So we got to know Phil, Pierce and I, and one of my visits to Philly also was when I met Maggie. And so then Maggie, Pierce, and EJ kind of got rolling in the 90s, sort of as the Goats were kind of slowing down. And it was Maggie, Pierce, and EJ's 4th record. One of them, we're finally like, let's ask Phil Nicolo. And he did severough Maggie Pearson EJs. He's done this is my third solo album, You Purple Virgin, Truth I'm Looking for a Fabulous Fantasy, 2023. But Phil's done several of mine and a bunch of Maggie Pearson EJ and some of their other solo stuff as well.
It's awesome. When you guys were kind of doing the goat stuff and all, did you do any of the session stuff at Rough House or?
Some,
yeah. And anything that would surprise me?
like sessions that we did otherwise.
Yeah.
Let me think. I know one thing we did was a Goats Bad Brains kind of super hype session because we toured together in Europe. And I remember that was engineered by Andy Kravitz, who I've known since I was a kid, and he got all into Studio 4, and then he's been all over the world in studios and all that stuff. But that was it was like a song session of Bad Brains plus the Goats. Hold on, there's others. They're gonna come to me, Nate.
Yeah, take your time.
Yeah. I'll get out my Rough House. I got my Rough House records and tapes box, in the archives somewhere.
Yeah, I just found I just got back from New Orleans, which is actually why I had to reschedule this because I tried to originally schedule this last week when I had to get up for a flight at 3 a.m. And then my fiance was like, "Are you stupid?" But when I was down in New Orleans, I found a 12-inch single of one of the Crisscross tracks that was recorded at Rough House, and I was like, right on. I have to buy this out of loyalty to my hometown.
That was the first kind of launching thing, and then the Goats were happening. Cypress Hill was happening, and then the Goats and the Fugees, were happening right kind of before Lauryn Hill, Ms. Hill went to in her way. There was a whole bunch of stuff. There was a rock band called Dandelion. It was Too Short. I'm just like we would just sort of take the latest CDs and probably have them in a box somewhere. Like I said, the Rough House archive collection.
That's awesome. That is so cool. The Maggie Pearson EJ, you guys were pretty prolific, man. I mean, like what the first album is a triple disc or something.
We were prolific because like I would talk about that band. We had 7 writers, right? Because we had individually, then we had the pairs, and then we had the 3 of us at once. So we put out 9 or 10 CDs. We toured all over the place, Europe a lot, and the States. We did do a triple, but that was the 6th one. They were all color coded.
Yeah.
It started actually, Pierce doodled on a napkin, cartoon, simplified images of the 3 of us, Maggie, Pierce, and EJ. And that became the first cover, the first album, kind of like our white CD. And then we just decided to invert it, making our black CD, which also Andy Kravitz was a part of way back then. And then we made the red CD with the same cartoon image of the 3 of us. And it kept going from there. The blue one got a little interesting because by that time we had met and befriended and then said goodbye to Jeff Buckley.
I wanted to ask you about that. How that where did you guys meet?
Our 4th album became called Four, F-O-R, because it was for him. It was our 4th album, and we wrote half the album when he was alive because we were like, wow, this guy is just moving us. This guy is like the talent, his talent. We crossed paths with him in New York at Cafe Chenet and sort of saw him and then would hear him and then hear about it. And then his EP was coming out. Maggie and I saw him at the Trocadero opening for Juliana Hatfield and said a little hello to him and gave him a cassette of some music. And then we saw him, Maggie Pearson EJ, he was doing a secret tour and we caught wind of it at the last minute and said, hey, we missed his set, but we invited him back to our house and we broke bread and we shared things and passed things around and we made if I could say absolutely, I could tell you exactly what happened.
Yeah.
We made some music. And the funny thing I remember noting is that he came back to our house and our studio was set up. Maggie Pearson EJ had a studio in Gladwin at the time, right near the studio that used to be there in the Mill House, right on Mill Creek Road. And we jammed, and it was an instrumental. Here we are, this harmony trio, and here he is, this person with this timeless voice for the ages. We were just chilling, man. His tour manager was with him, and And we all joked about it later, but they came over to our house in the woods and they were like, where are we going? And then we get in and there's fresh bread baking because Pierce was a hell of a cook. And somebody had given us some homegrown because Maggie Pierce needed toured Maine all the time. And it was an incredible night. We saw him the next night performing on his secret tour. And that was about 6 months. And then we were able to see him in Memphis about a month before he swam away forever because we were on tour. He was doing these secret shows that he had relocated to Memphis. And I mean, we dated the songs on the Maggie Pierce and EJ's 4 album because, you know, and then the catharsis songwriting process after he died. But we streamed the record as a flowing piece. It's not just chronological, but you could easily listen to it that way.
Yeah. Yeah, that's another one of my I know you're only supposed to have one North Star, but that's another one for me is that Grace is just the most mesmerizing album I've probably ever heard. Like it just I have to be careful listening to it because it can very easily sink me because
hell yes.
It's just so profoundly beautiful. Like, and
dude, absolutely. Are you talking about Nesmith being a North Star as well?
Yes, yeah. It's I've got a few Nesmith. Bowie was a big one, big guy for me. Yeah. Actually, hometown guy, G Love was Gara was another one who I actually just saw.
Really?
In New Orleans. The other
well,
day,
of course, there was the goat overlap, and so I know him since way back. But then there was some session, and Maggie Pierce and EJ and G was there, and he played harmonica on one of our songs.
Oh no way!
Yeah. So I haven't seen him in a while, but you know.
Yeah, that's so we were in New Orleans, and they were playing at the House of Blues, so we went to see him, and
oh cool.
And Chuck's playing with him right now, so I got to see Chuck, got to see G. Like,
and was there a bass player?
Yeah, Jimmy is playing with them.
Okay, right. Because I know they've done gigs, I think, as a duo. And yeah, man, Treese, I mean, he's your neighbor. If you see him, tell him EJ said hello, please.
I absolutely will. Yeah. As I was leaving, I was like, Chuck, for 2 years, we've been talking about doing this interview. As soon as this tour is over, I'm locking it out. I will show up if I have to with my traveling recording equipment, whatever it takes. We got to make it happen.
You had him in New Orleans, Nate. What happened?
I don't think any of us, it was the time for any of us.
No, it's not the time. But so G's on tour right now with Treese and Joel.
Yeah, man.
That probably sounds great.
It does. They sound really, really good right now. So, let's jump. I know this is going to be a quick fast track jump, but let's talk about the new album because I want to spend some time on this beautiful piece of work that you've put together.
I almost wish it was we were showing the video because I keep holding up the artwork and the artwork is really something. Thank you.
It really
thanks for steering it. I hope I'm not rambling off too much. Steer it to the new record. It'll be released on May 5th, so it's brand fucking new. What were you saying?
Just that, like, how long have you been working on it? Like, has it kind of been in process for a while, or? Yeah,
it has actually. I didn't mean to take so long, but a lot of shit happened in the last 5 years. So we broke ground with Phil Nicolo at Studio 4 5 years ago, and then Adrian Harpham and I steered the sessions afterwards at mostly his home studio, New York and in Philly. Then eventually mixed it with Phil Nicolo, and Phil Nicolo has his new pressing plan. He's got a whole vinyl scene going on called Studio 4 Vinyl, and so he mastered it, and he did this.
I can't wait to hear it on vinyl because just some of the grooves and some of the kind of ethereal feels to it. I'm excited to hear in analog.
Okay, yeah. There's a lot of it's one of my friends listened to mixes and I loved it. He said it's like I'm listening to a Blade Runner movie.
I can see that.
He's a freaky artist himself, and I just said, wow. I just I loved it as what the hell does that mean? So it's very tactile, he said, and there's production value that Adrian a lot conjured up this sound, Adrian worked on my first solo album, You Purple Virgin, a little bit on the second one, and then a lot on this third one. And this is the first vinyl I've had. I just saw DJ Schmoovy from the Goats last night. I haven't seen him in years. And I was like, this is the first. I had to give him a vinyl, but Maggie Pearson EJ did a 7-inch, and the Goats, of course, had Columbia Records, and they were, and that was back then. So that was a record. Of course, my choir record when I was 12 years old. But anyway, I got vinyl. It will be at the release party. The album will drop all over the world, thanks to our friend Maggie P. Right?
Yeah.
She's steering me in cool ways in the land of publicity. Thank you, Maggie Polis. But May 5th, which is the night of the record release, not the CD release, the record, I got to retrain myself. Record release party, and it will be at the Fallser Club in East Falls, which is in Philly. It's not far from Manayunk. Have you ever been there, Nate?
No.
It was a little movie theater 100 years ago, like a silent movie theater. And it's been a few things. It was an office space. It was I don't know what it was for the last 100 years, but now it's like a venue / community center / great spot for such an event.
Oh, that's awesome. That is so cool. Yeah, I've not been there. I've heard of it. Well, you know how things are. You hear everything in the area, but I haven't gotten to check anything out there yet.
Here's your flyer there. Here's your flyer.
Oh, look at
I'm
that.
handing out to everybody. It says E.J. Simpson's You Purple Virgin presents A Fabulous Fantasy. That's the name of the record. Record release show May 5th, 2023 at 8 p.m. at the Fallser Club, which is 3721 Midvale Avenue in Philly in East Falls. It's about 4 or 5 blocks from the river. As you're going up Midvale, it's on your left. And it'll be a full moon. It'll be Cinco de Mayo. And it'll be the place to be to listen to my entire record live with most of the players from the record, which are some Philly cats, to say the least.
That's actually what I was going to ask was, have you been playing this stuff live yet? Or will that kind of be the unveiling?
Well, I'm going to, like I said, most of these people, if you look on the back, there's going to be a dozen people on stage. So to that degree, it will be one and done, the first of its kind. I've been playing the songs a little bit, I could rock a few for you right now. I mean,
Yeah, man. I dig it. I can definitely dig it. Before that show though, and before the release, you've got the 17th annual Jesus Christ Superstar Revival solo.
Thank you. You're good.
How the heck did that start?
I want to come back to the record because I want to talk about everybody who's on it.
Yeah, we'll swing.
I forget how much time you do on these.
Oh, we got plenty of time. As long as you got time, I got time.
You see that picture?
Yeah.
There's we're going to go to Superstar now. We're going to come back to the art of the album.
Yeah.
This gig is at Old Swedes. You know that spot. It's
yes.
a historic spot in South Philly. It's still a church. It's a church that you used to be able to row your boat up to and go to back in like 1678 or whatever it is. So, and they do music and they have all kinds of things. So I was doing Superstar. I was doing a gig at Old Swedes. And I'd done Superstar already for almost 10 years. And I said, oh, can I do it here? And they said to me, do you want to do it in the hall or in the sanctuary? And I'm like, will I explode if I do this? So I do it in the church, which is an incredible sounding building. And so that'll be Friday, April 21st. Doors at 7, shows at 8. It's different every year. Do you know Superstar? Do you know that musical?
I do. It's funny. I had said earlier about, the finding the secret things in your father's record collection. When I started doing theater, my dad was like, if you like theater, take a listen to this. And I was just, again, mind flayed that like, not just that it existed, but that he was into it.
That he had it. But yeah, this like heavy rock stuff that's, it's a great piece of music. That was definitely not a secret. That we wore that record out at my house growing up. My dad is an Episcopalian minister, so that might tie it. But he was also an interesting cat. That dad of mine. He but also was a music aficionado and played piano. Like I said, sang in the choir. That's how I met my mom. Okay, so that was a well played record as I grew up.
Yeah.
One day, I guess it's 18 years ago now, I'm visiting my sister in Albuquerque, and she just puts it on and turns it up to 11. She's like singing it down the hall from the shower, and I'm listening to it. And it was that time, it was kind of a transitional time. So Maggie Pearson EJ was doing this, and my relation, it was a personal relationship, was, it was a moment of transition for me. And I said, I'm going to learn this whole thing. And I'd never sung any of it. So I set about learning it just by playing along with it. I didn't get the score. And so I changed it and I've mutated it. And by now, 17 years later, every year I do it differently. But it's still Jesus Christ Superstar, but I do it definitely through the prism of E.J. Simpson, and wherever that takes me, whatever instrument I might grab, or versions or interpretations, or, I hope we can come to that. That's,
That's it. It's there. There's some clips out there on YouTube that I was able to kind of take in a little bit, and just the sound of doing Andrew Lloyd Webber on bells is just absolutely stellar, man.
I usually have the bells right here by the piano, but I don't tonight. Oh well. Yeah, these rainbow bells. They were my little cousin's toy bells. And she's actually now 17. She actually did her debut as singing backups on one of the tracks on my new record.
Awesome.
But then I mounted the bells onto a mic stand and I started playing them with mallets, and I love them. I mean, if they're on my card, if I gave you my card, Nate, it would say, among other things, it would say Rainbow Bellsist.
That's awesome.
Rainbow Bellsist.
It's definitely a talent. The bells also, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, make an appearance occasionally when you play with Brew Review as well. Is that true?
Absolutely. Good tie-in. I like it. We're moving right along.
Do you see how I do it?
And now, Baru, what do you know? What do you know about Baru Review, Nate?
So, here's the 100% honesty, and it will probably get me kicked out of not just the Philadelphia area, but kicked out of Ambler. I've never actually seen Baru Review live. Okay. So I only know from friends and relatives, just and every single one is like, how have you never seen that? You've got to come experience this. My boss, who he and his wife, anytime Baru is playing, they're there. It gives me crap all of the time for.
Well, I'll bet you I'm going to know I'm going to know who you mentioned, or at least recognize them. Okay, so about Baru, or about me with Baru. Rainbow Bells definitely is part of it. You have two opportunities. They've been kind of reunioning since about 2006.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been in the fold now for 6 or 7 years, which kind of blows my mind because I knew about Baru Review when I was a teenager, thanks to Pierce. And he had a couple of vinyl singles of Ken Queter and the Secret Kids and Baru Review. Philly, bands from the 80s,
Yeah.
And I saw Greg Davis at Walsh's. He would, and I knew him as a guitar player around Philly. And he's on my record, too. I wanted to get back to who the heck is on my record. Well, the guitar players are Greg Davis and also Kevin Hansen. Do you know who he is?
Only by name.
He's in Huffamoose, and he's in the Fractals, and he's on my tracks, and in fact, he was this close to also playing my release party, but unfortunately on the gig, the whole stage would have just been cinders if Kevin Hansen and Greg Davis were sharing, but they're both sharing my record here. But so you have two chances, Nate, to see Baru Review. They've been, since about 2006, they've been definitely doing 2 shows a year, a Thanksgiving and a Christmas, and other ones here and there. This spring they have 2.
Really?
They have a great song called Miracle of Spring. And, one of their biggest fans is Pierre Robert.
Mm-hmm.
You know Pierre?
I do.
He and Bob Baru go way, way, way back, right? So he usually MCs the shows, and he's just the biggest fan ever. And he came to the Christmas show, and he said as he was leaving, he was like, you guys should do a springtime show, because what the world needs is to see a grown man dressed as a flower.
And that locked it in?
I don't know. I guess we had 2 spring. Baru Review has 2 spring shows, whether that was Pierre's doing or not, or Bob's doing. So one of them is coming right up. When does this air again? When do you blast this?
On Monday. So the 10th. Is that the 10th?
All right, you're gonna miss the. It's at the living room, but it's like an unplugged Baru show, and they haven't done that for a while, and it's been sold out for actually 2 months because they are, like you said, they have fans.
Yeah.
But the other one is the City Winery, and that is in Philadelphia, and that is on I think it's the 19th of May, and I'd like to double triple check for that.
Okay.
And that'll be the full on, and that one you should come. I mean, when I say full on, I don't know what I want to give away here, but like. There's a lot. When I say full on, there's a lot there to be full on with Baru Review.
Yeah. Yeah. I've heard nothing but good things. Like I got to do it. Like it's one of my blind spots as a Philly music connoisseur, you know?
Yeah.
So let's get back to the players on the album. Because you've got a lot of people on this disc. Like
I got I made a few CDs too. These are what Maggie calls soft launch.
Okay.
Launch when it'll be available and all the way that the people in 2023 can access music. That will be Friday, May 5th. Well, let me tell you there, Nate. Thanks for asking. Produced by Adrian Harpham and E.J. Simpson. All songs written by E.J. Simpson. There's me. I'm playing everything, a lot of stuff. And so is Adrian. Greg Davis is playing guitar, and Wally Smith is playing keyboards. Wally is another Philly alum who has played with many people, and he's quite a virtuoso on organ and on sounds and on, And they tracked with Adrian and myself. The four of us tracked the bulk of the album at studio 4 or 5 years ago. And then with overdubs, Santis Davis plays all kinds of percussion. Gaded, a friend of mine, goes by Gaded. He played the tabla. We have actual tabla. He will be at the release party. And he's steeped in the tabla. Tabla, you learn how to sing your tabla parts. And so and Santis Davis plays kind of African, kind of Caribbean percussion. I met him at an open mic, and I really liked his style. And, we've met and became friends. And I just said, can you do a session? Can you come and throw down some percussion on my album? And he was happy to. And Adrian was like, wow, this is what an interesting, he's got a really great approach. Okay. The singers, the backup singers are by Rachel Hamovich, Allison Hilly, and Dina Miranda. And so I call them the Rads, Rachel, Allie, and Dina, the Rads. And they sing beautifully together. Allie and I and Dina and I and Rachel and I, we've all collabed in all kinds of ways, but the Rads are on my record, and they're doing my party, Nate.
And they sound rad.
They sound fucking rad.
Fucking rad.
Podcast. They sound fucking rad. Totally rad. Oh, yeah. Jade L. LeBrandt is my cousin, and she's going to definitely sing the song that she sings on the record, and we'll see how it goes at rehearsal. She might be up for more, might be up for some percussion. Jade, my cousin Jade. Kevin Hansen, like I said, plays on a couple of tracks. David Fishkin, do you know him?
I don't.
Fabulous saxophone player. West Philly Orchestra and Adult Content is his band. Extreme Fishkin is one of his things. When tracking this one track in the studio, we said, David, just play your saxophone to the drums. We wouldn't let him hear the whole track. So we really wanted that like percussive reactionary insanity, which we ended up using most of that take. And the other horn is Kuf Ibi, who plays flugelhorn. And I also met him with West Philly Orchestra. I don't know that he's still a part of that, but he does a crazy ambient, beautiful sounding thing at the Abyssinia a few times a month. Kuf Ibi. Unfortunately, neither of those two will be at the release party, but I have a stellar other horn section, which we could talk about in a minute if you want. My brother Jeffrey Simpson is singing on one track because we had done he's a songwriter as well. We did a record for him, and there was this track laid over. I said, I'm putting it on this record. And that track also has Owen Osborne on the drums, Adam Flicker on the organ. Do you know Adam?
I do. Oh, well, I don't know him personally, but...
And he's a hell of a trumpet player. He'll be playing trumpet at my release party.
Oh, no kidding.
And then I have Wendy Romig and Vrindavan chanting and doing some chanting in the Hooray Hooray song. Brother Ed and Bhakti Irf playing cartels, which is this, it's kind of like handbells. And don't forget Kristen Jewell. She chanted as well. That's who's on my record, Nate.
It's amazing how when kind of navigating that many collaborators and stuff like that on a project like this. Do you have that kind of built into your idea of what the song would be, or do you allow that to kind of drag the song to where it ends up? Does that make sense? Did that come out right?
Oh yeah, yeah. Good question. I'm going to say both. I might say I want to have strings on this, or I think there should be percussion on that, and then Adrian and I would bounce it off of each other. And but then when they came in and tracked, I might have a part and say, "Hey, I want you to play this. I want you to play this." And then they'd say, "Well, what about this, this, and this?" So that was definitely give and take to do that. The crazy horn bit that kind of ends the album. But with Kevin, Adrian kind of, as producer, was kind of leading that. So he kind of, I was even not at some of the Kevin sessions. I came late or I heard it the next day. I was like, what have you done to my track? But in the best of ways,
Yeah.
So I can't answer that, but yeah, percussion and tabla. I think I want you on these tracks. I would have harmony ideas, but of course we would work different stuff out and new ideas. So kind of both. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it's incredible. And it turned out phenomenal. Like one of the things that I always think this is an interesting thing, but whether it's planned or not. But this feels like a May album. Like it feels like a kicking off summer kind of vibe. Was that intentional?
Yay! Feel good hit of the summer, Nate. Thank you. Purple Virgin.
Yeah.
Kind of, sort of, yes. But also it's timing because, like I said, a lot of things happened in the world, and for me personally, in the last several years, which is why it took the time that it took. But yeah, it's launching, baby. It is Cinco de Mayo. One of the musicians at the party, Jay Davidson, who's a really great sax player, he's going to do the party. And I said, "Hey, are you available on May 5th?" And he responded, "Cinco de EJ, I'm there," which was really beautiful. Jay Davidson, who's going to do the horns at the release party will be Jay Davidson, Adam Flicker on the trumpet, Tuba Dan. Now I got to tell you about Tuba Dan Nashaney, because he's an old friend of mine and we collaborate and connect really, really good chemistry. And he suggested another sax player named Wally, and I'm afraid I don't know his last name, B. Wally B will also be part of the horns at my party.
That's awesome. So what did you say? 12 piece? Is that what's lining that stage somewhere around there?
I got a dancer. I got a video projector. I have a props person. We're going to have some kind of catering, eat, drink, be merry. There's, there'll be a bar there. That's kind of their thing. But I'm just saying, it's Cinco de Mayo.
Yeah.
Tequila, if that's your thing, I believe that will be quite available. So.
You keep setting up these beautiful segues. You mentioned you have a dancer, so there's something else I want to really ask you about. Can you tell me anything about this Mark Twain idea with ballet and an orchestra?
I can, Nate. I can. Let me just go back and say, but about the tequila and everything, it's all ages event. There will be plenty of non-alc stuff for the non-alc people because there's lots of us out there. So it's going to be a party. And it's going to be festive in the full moon vibe. All ages. Light snacks. It's going to be it's going to be a good time. So what's next in my creative, process is the follow up to this one, a covers album. The Goats and Maggie Pearson EJ are still kind of like, let's hit it again. Let's get in the studio again. And there's a book by Mark Twain that I set to music. It's called The War Prayer. You see me looking around now. So I wish we were doing the video sometimes, but not now. It's around here somewhere. I can't find it. It's called The War Prayer. Have you heard of it?
No, I haven't.
Mark Twain wrote it, and he said, "Publish it after I'm dead, because it's too true," or so. And my mom was a big proponent of it. So it's to my dearly beloved Gret Gentile, my mom, and she was handing it out left and right in 2001 when the war drums were being beaten, and it's heavy, and I don't know when I got the idea or when I started going, I wonder if I could songify this text, and I've done it, and I'm deep into it, actually. It's been piecemealed at Ted Richardson's studio in Germantown. We've been hitting that for a couple years. I actually got my mom to the studio, so she will be, there's a guest vocal.
That's awesome.
So that's going to be cool. I just did a horn overdub. I just did a string overdub. Listen, what do you know about me, people listening? You know, I like Jesus Christ Superstar. We talked about other band influences, history. It's about 5 or 6 pieces, and it tells the story. And hopefully it'll be out in 24, 25.
That's incredible. How so? What is the kind of concept behind performing that? Like, are you kind of looking to put it on yourself? Are you looking to kind of get an orchestra together to put it on, or?
Once it's done and gets some wings, and I have talked to the Mark Twain House in Massachusetts several times, and they're aware of it, and it was like, oh, that's cool. There was no like, hey, what are you doing? They were like, oh, interesting.
Yeah.
And in my imagination, in my dreams, there's a ballet, some choreography to it. So thanks to my lovely lady Jeannie, my girlfriend, has kind of broadened my horizons with dance and Ballet X. So I'm a big fan of Ballet X, and I've gotten to know the founder there, Christine, and talked to her a little bit about it. And that's where my imagination this is going. So we're still in the kitchen, in the studio. We're still, it's not been mixed. It hasn't finished. The recording hasn't been finished yet. But like I said, that's, but it's well underway. It is well underway. It's not like, we just started the tracks. Like, no, man, we got the strings and horns, and we're going to get the gospel choir in there next month. And, that's what's happening, Nate. That's kind of in the works a little bit.
It's so awesomely ambitious, and like when I think it's only like a sentence in the press release or something like that, and I was like, hold on, can we expand on this a little bit, because it sounds phenomenal to me. Like, it's really exciting, and like you said, with the love of Jesus Christ Superstar and stuff like that, and kind of the idea of making your own, something that someone can wear out on the on their dad's record player or something like that, is just a phenomenal cycle.
Yeah, it's gonna be cool. We got Josh Steingart and Matty Muir are both great Philly drummers, and they're both on it. Logan, what is Logan's last name? Keyboard player Logan Roth, and Adam Flicker are playing on that. Tuba Dan arranged the horn section for me. Dan Noshaney, his thing is called Neon and Shy. He was in West Philly Orchestra. I met him years ago. He came on tour with Maggie Pearson EJ, and we worked with him in really creative, funny ways. He's a great musician, great ear, accordion, and several brass instruments. And we even joked that the end of Maggie Pearson EJ, which was the band name, if we rearranged it, it would be Dan. So he and I go way back. And if I can tell you a little secret, Nate, can I?
Yeah, absolutely.
The way I do Jesus Christ Superstar is kind of usually a one-man show, but sometimes I have surprise guests, and I've said too much.
Okay.
I hope you can come to that on the Jesus Christ Superstar show on the 21st.
21st. I hope so. Like, I definitely want to check it out. I am a fan. And I'm a fan of you, man. Like, you exemplify everything that I love about music and creativity and stuff like that. It comes from a place of there's nothing else you could do. You know what I mean? Like, that's it. Like, you found it. You found your thing, and
there's nothing else to do in this lifetime. You're like, well, I might as well do this, and if I can really pour into it, then here we go.
That's awesome. That's awesome. At this time, would you like to go through my Jauntlet questionnaire? These are my questions that I ask all of my guests on this show.
Oh, shit. It's getting warm in here.
It starts with the one-hit wonders, even though none of these are one-hit wonders. I always like to clarify that, because some people get confused at times, and you just got to help them. You got to take them by the hand and lead them to where you're going.
Okay, here's my hand.
All right, here we go. We'll bring it in. The first one: Billy Joel or Elton John? Who do you prefer?
He's Sir EJ. I'm EJ. He is Sir EJ. I'll go with Sir EJ.
Okay, excellent. Number 2: Debbie Harry or Joan Jett?
Wow. No, it's funny, like on stage or like, to party with. I guess I'll go with Debbie.
Okay. Okay. Good answer. Good answer. There are no wrong answers to
Yeah,
these, by
yeah.
the way. Sometimes people are like to answer and then apologize, and I'm like, what are you apologizing for?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
picked a legend over a legend.
It's a funny one you got, Nate. Your little jauntlet here at the end. It's very funny. I like it.
Next one, Aretha Franklin or Tina Turner?
Yeah. Wow. Again, like on stage or out on the town. I'll go with Miss Tina. Oh, I'll go with Miss Tina, and we'll do some Buddhist chanting while we're hanging out together.
Okay, I like it. I like it. Nirvana or Pearl Jam?
Oh Jesus, I'm sorry. The first one, 10 times 10. Like, please, do we? No.
Yeah.
So Nirvana played Dobbs. I unfortunately was not there. I'd like to lie and say I was there. I was aware of it. I was friends with the door guy. Anyway, yeah, the former is the answer to that question.
That's incredible. One of my recent guests, Kevin Allison, was a member of The State on MTV. I don't know if you remember that sketch comedy show.
Yeah.
But he said that MTV gave them all tickets to Nirvana Unplugged, and he blew it off to go to a party. And it's one of his great regrets.
Yeah, with the Pearl Jam guys, I do like them to the level that I did see PJ-20. I watched the documentary about their, and they'd be a fun. They seem like swell blokes,
Swell dudes. Yeah.
Well, musically, I like big stuff. Yeah.
Next one, Janis Joplin or Stevie Nicks?
Oh, Stevie's alive and well. I actually have heard her with these ears. I do a ton of tribute nights, and one of them I've done is a Janis night. And I'm playing guitar. It's a lot of fun. I'll go with Miss Janis Joplin.
Okay. The big cliche, Beatles or the Stones?
Well, let me tell you, because Jawn is a definitive. There's no definition to Jawn. If I needed backup on a street fight and it was going to get ugly, bottles were going to get broken and chains were coming out, I would want the 1963 Beatles, hands down. No way would I want the Stones. So
I like it.
On that level.
That's an incredible answer.
On longevity level, holy shit! What?
Yeah.
Right.
We were talking about playing with people you've been playing with since you were kids, like Mick and Keith playing together. Like I saw a video of them recently, like backstage on like maybe the last tour or something like that, just kind of sitting around singing together. And it was just something beautiful about it. Like how many times they had to have done that, but like it just felt like still magic,
Oh, totally. I'm looking for a Mick and Keith magazine that I just had. Did you ever see that? It was a promotion bit, and it was Mick and Charlie Watts hanging out in their hotel room, and they were obviously such, the camaraderie. And the manager comes in, and he starts asking them questions, but it's like a Monty Python meets Rolling Stones promotional comedy bit. And he goes, "Do you want to open with Honky Tonk Women, or do you want to do Beast of Burden? All right, and what's your encore going to be?" And he goes, "I think we'll do the Parrot sketch." It was just so funny, and like, I mean, who knows if they're all pals? You sort of assume they are.
Yeah,
hanging out with Tim Rice too, and Andrew Lloyd Webber. I don't know. Maybe they're all pals. I don't know.
Yeah, you gotta hope, right? You gotta hope.
Yeah.
The last one of the one-hit wonders: Bohemian Rhapsody or Stairway to Heaven?
Wow, it's like, okay, so which one do I turn up more often when it comes on the radio, or turn off? Like, I don't need to hear this anymore. They're neck and neck. I might lean towards Stairway just because of the heavy, but Bohemian and the opera part. Does that answer it? I think
that answers it. Yeah, that's an answer. I take that. The second half of this is the top 10 countdown.
Jesus.
As you are well aware, Jawn can be whatever you want it to be. It doesn't have to be music. It can be anything you want. So the number one, what was your first Jawn? What was the first thing you were obsessed with when you were a kid?
Oh, right. Dig it. Well, we'll keep it with music. It'll be fun. I think my first concert was the Beach Boys, and I had a bunch of Beach Boys records, and then they were usurped by kind of Monkees and that sort of thing. I was a kid then. I was a big Adam and the Ants fan.
That was a big one for my mom. And, I had a conversation with someone where I was talking about, I can rattle off the top of my head very quickly every of my dad's favorite artists, But when it comes to my mom, like I can only think of like albums that she liked. I can't think of like artists that she liked. It's like a very weird kind of thing, and I don't know if it's just kind of like a childhood idolation or anything like that. But Adam and the Ants was a big one for my mom.
Which album, Nate? Which album?
For her, I guess I should have explained it further. That's the only one where she had like multiple albums of.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. As opposed to it just being like she loved Songs in the Key of Life by Stevie Wonder, but didn't own any other Stevie Wonder albums. Like it was just very specifically, and one of the greatest albums ever made. So understandably,
I saw the Songs in the Key of Life tour recently here in Philly. And it was just he lifted the whole stadium was elevated. It was like church meets just magical music. It was amazing. And I saw Adam Ant a couple years ago at the Miriam.
Oh, that's awesome! I love it.
All right.
Number 2, what's your current Jawn? What are you into right now?
What am I into? I mean, I've got a busy spring, so I'm kind of practicing all this sort of stuff. What am I listening to? Oh, my biggest Jawn. Oh, Jawn could be anything. Bike rides in the spring,
Oh, yes.
New Jawn. I'm busy with Baru Review. I'm busy with a band called Boris Garcia, which I didn't mention. I play with Ken Queter. I play with my old friend John Abella. And then I got my 2 big gigs, which are my Superstar and my record release party. So my Jawn is my piano. Excuse me, Nate. Okay, I'm back.
I love it. I love it. Number 3, you answered. First concert was the Beach Boys. That's a hard act to follow, I would think. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. I was a little kid and it's hazy, but I saw Bill Monroe early on too. I do play mandolin too, and that's maybe why. But first concert, yeah.
That's awesome. The number 4, what was your last concert?
Most recent concert?
Yeah.
I know this. It was recent, but I have to think about it. I know I saw Katie Lang recently. I know I saw Victor Wooten recently. I know it's 2023, right?
Yeah.
I got concert tickets. Phil Lesh up at the Capitol Theater, the world famous Capitol Theater. That was cool. I was at the Apollo for the first time last week. My buddy Andy Kravitz and I went up there. He had a ticket. Taj Mahal was on the bill.
Oh God, yes.
That was on the bill, and some jazz titans that were on the bill of jazz. Some legendary jazz cats. That was probably the most recent. John Steve Jordan, the drummer, was doing his thing.
That's awesome.
That's
number 5. What was your favorite concert you ever went to?
Well, there's not going to be one, Nate. I'm so glad you don't have a Maxell 45 that's about to run out.
It's so true.
My favorite concert?
Yeah.
I did see Bjork at the Trocadero.
Wow.
That was, I saw Jeff Buckley a handful of times. I'm lucky to see those because those were so moving. Radiohead a couple years ago, the Songs in the Key of Life. Yeah.
Good answers. You just named something that is a perfect segue because it's one of my answers for number 6. Who have you never seen live that you wish you would have? They can be living or dead because my answer is Jeff Buckley.
Oh, nice. Oh, yeah, that's long. Zappa. I came this close to seeing Zappa, but I never did. I've met Dweezil. Dweezil's come into Danny's guitar shop where I teach, and we're like, hey, you look familiar. He seemed awfully nice. Come in a couple times. Zappa. Anybody. God, Nina Simone, Thelonious Monk, Jocko, Janis, Pigpen. Why not? Go way back. We're time tripping.
I love it.
Yeah.
Good answers. Number 7, name an unappreciated Jawn. Name something you wish more people were into.
Aha. What is yeah, well, I'm working on a bunch of stuff and I'm deep in music and I'm like, I wish there was a bigger audience for all this music that, I think is great. And so that's on the website, I guess, or, Adrian's projects or, my record is underappreciated. No, what is an underappreciated? There's an audience for somebody like Sweet Honey in the Rock. Are they underappreciated? They're known by some, but they're not like, they're still singing. Lambert, Hendricks and Ross. Do you know them?
I don't know them.
Jazz, they're a big influence from the 50s and 60s, vocal trio stuff. They influenced Maggie Pearson EJ somewhat. And I'm like, wait, how can people not know about this vocalese stuff?
I will definitely have to dig into some of that. Number 8, this is a hard one, and I understand, and you can add any parameter you want to if you want to narrow it down. But what's your favorite album?
Oh yeah, any parameter. Obviously, I'm not really narrowing it down, is it?
Yeah.
Well, what's an album you like? You're like, hold on, everybody, I'm gonna listen to Grace. Okay, hold on, I'll be back in about an hour, maybe.
Yeah.
That would be up there. I just got a great copy of Weasel's Rip My Flesh, brand new sealed copy. Yeah, I'll put a Bjork album in there. Post.
Perfect. I love it. Number 9, name an artist whose output you'll consume anything they release.
Aforementioned, I mean, I guess I didn't buy the recent Bjork one, but there was a time I was voracious. I'm going to listen to the Jeff Buckley. It's all scraping the barrel, but does that might not really count. Who's got a cool new record? Well, it's Record Store Day coming up,
It is indeed. I'm excited. I don't know if you heard, they just announced today that WXPN is putting out a 6-song vinyl on Record Store Day with some local Philly artists, which is pretty exciting.
Nice. I should be blasted on the local show this weeks ahead, but Record Store Day is going to be great. There's a Long in the Tooth on Sansom Street. That's a great record store here in Philadelphia. They sell my record. Main Street Music in Manioc, they will have my record. And I think I'm going to be doing a performance at Shady Dog out in Berwyn. They also are selling my record. It's a Danny's Guitar Shop in Narberth, which is where I teach music. Yeah, Record Store Day. I'll have to go pick up a new favorite record on the, what is it? What's the date of that, Nate?
The 20, it might be the 22nd. Yeah, it sounds about right.
Yeah, I think it's the day after my Superstar. Yeah.
Yeah. Very cool. The 10th and final of the top 10 countdown. What's your favorite Jawn of all time? Again, it can be anything you want it to be.
Right. Jawn is like, whoa, Jawn. Okay. You're in a hot tub with some good friends, and there's a light snow sprinkling, and you've got some cold bubbly, and that'd be a good Jawn, wouldn't it? The music
Absolutely.
is right. The music is it's a mixture of, your tracks and your favorite, like a mixture of everything we've touched on. Would be one hell of a fucking mixtape, wouldn't it?
Oh my God, absolutely. You paint a pretty picture of a beautiful Jawn. I love it. So the new album, You Purple Virgin presents Fabulous Fantasy, out on May 5th. Everybody should definitely pick up a copy. And like I said, I am super excited to hear this on vinyl because it's absolutely phenomenal.
All right. I can get you one before with the old U.S. Post Office, or you can come on the 5th.
Okay.
We'll talk about that offline here.
I love it. If these cool cats and kittens listening to this show want to track you down on the internet, what's the best way to find you? There's
this little thing called ejsimpsonmusic.com. That's pretty direct.
That is pretty direct.
ejsimpsonmusic.com.
So you said you're kind of already starting to piece together ideas for the follow-up other than just the Mark Twain piece, but is that the kind of December idea or the
I think I should focus on finishing the Mark Twain. But yeah. I do have a couple tracks already started with Adrian, with John Abella, because that's what we do. We got some recording and so I don't know. It won't be, well, who knows? It could be by Christmas, by the end of the year, by the end of 2023. So the next Jawn will remain to be fleshed out into the Jawn.
I love it. EJ, thank you so much for doing this today and chatting with me. And allow me to also just say, if you ever do this Monkeys cover thing again and you need someone to come in and drop a Nez track, you know who to call.
You know the Nez. You know all the Nez, don't you?
I do. That's my spot. But no, thank you so much for doing this. Thank you so much for creating like all of the music. You are truly, and I'm not just saying this because you're a guest or whatnot. You are, I believe, an unappreciated Jawn, not just in this area, but in music in general, because you just do phenomenal work and you remain interesting. And I'm really excited for this Mark Twain thing. Like that really sparked something in my head that I can't wait to check it out. So thank you so much for doing it.
But Maggie P's going to change all that, isn't she, Nate?
That's right. She's going to
I
let
appreciate
everybody
stuff,
know.
right?
Isn't she the best? Shout
Oh.
out to Maggie, the
Maggie
absolute
Paulus,
best.
I did. Oh, I'm glad I held this record up. Abba Rowland did this cover, and she is a really cool visual artist and a songwriter. And I wanted to definitely, I would have been remiss if I had forgotten about Abba Rowland did my record cover, and Bevan McShay does the cool Jesus Christ Superstar art. And in fact, Bevan McShay is hiding somewhere on my record. You just have to get one and look closely.
That's awesome. I love it. Thank you again for doing this.
Dig it, Nate. I can't wait to see you in person.
My thanks again to EJ for joining me on the show today. If you would like to find out more about EJ, you can visit his website at www.ejsimpsonmusic.com. EJ's new album, You Purple Virgin Presents Fabulous Fantasy, is set to be released on Friday, May 5th. And that night at 8 p.m., he will be taking the stage to celebrate the album's release with a performance at the Falster Club in East Falls. And on April 21st, you can catch EJ at Old Swedes Church in Philadelphia, where he will be performing his 17th annual solo revival of Jesus Christ Superstar. Links to all of those will, as always, be in the show notes. If you haven't done so already, please be sure to subscribe to the Yo, That's My Jawn podcast wherever you get your podcasts from. Where you're listening to it right now, hit subscribe. I would appreciate the heck out of that. And gang, it is never too late to get yourself a super awesome Jawn Scout Merit Badge for Citizenship of the World just by rating and reviewing us. Don't forget to visit www.yothat'smyjawn.com for articles, merchandise, and links to all of the previous episodes of this podcast. And while you're there, be sure to sign up for our mailing list to get all of the updates delivered straight to your inbox. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/YoThat'sMyJawn for updates and live streams. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Yo That's My Jawn, and search Yo That's My Jawn on YouTube to find the Yo That's My Jawn YouTube channel. Like and subscribe the heck out of that ish. We want to hear from you. Reach out and touch some Jawn. Oh yeah, baby, we are back. We are recharged and we are ready to rock. Oh man, thank you as always for joining me on this bus of fun that we call a podcast. Blue skies until next time, everybody.
Hey yo, displace the guilt and embrace the pleasure. Your taste in music doesn't have to be.
Yo, That's My Jawn is a Lonely Monk production written and produced by yours truly, Nate Runkle. Theme song by Phil Tyler Music featuring Nate 3.0. Special thanks to Fox Run Brands, DX Ferris, Andrew Scott, Natalie Runkle, and the incredibly brilliant and wickedly stunning Katie Daubney. If you or anyone you know has any ideas they would like to share or any guests they would like to hear on the podcast, please feel free to reach out to us at yothat'smyjawn@gmail.com. Or you can leave an audio message for us and possibly hear yourself on a future episode by visiting anchor.fm/ytmj/message. Until next time, be sure to displace the guilt and embrace the pleasure and shout to the world, yo, that's my Jawn.